Hello, everyone. I'm going to look at 2022, February 22, because that many twos we didn't have actually ever. So it's the very first time that we have like 6 twos. And there are some interesting features on that day, astrological features, as well as karmic features. So we're going to look at it in detail. And here is the document I want to share with you. First, let's look at the numerology, because as I said, I don't think we ever had that many twos. Okay, maybe in 1222 in February 22, that's the same, but then we had a 1. All we have is twos, and as you know, in numerology, the 2 describes the moon, and it is the feminine, it is nurturing, it is reception. But when you add this all up, and by the way, it actually echoes the year 2022 in a way, so it's really gives it another boost. But if you add it up, you get 12/3. Now, if we look at the tarot, the number 3 is the Empress, and the Empress denotes the woman who is going to deliver the heir. And all she needs is patience, and all she needs is to give it enough time and enough perspective. And whenever we draw that particular card, it shows you that you are on the right track. It will become something, will become fruitful. It will eventually occur. And all you need to do is wait about a year or until harvest time, or at least 9 months. But this 3 comes from 12. And in the tarot, the 12 is the Hangman. And whenever we draw this particular card, it's a very strong no, because if you do what you were asking about, you will be completely sold and completely bondaged. When you look at the card, you can see that a Christ-like figure is hanging from a tree. One of his legs are crossed, his hands are tied behind his body, and it simply describes a situation where you're completely stuck, and there are only 3 ways to get out of it. Number 1, sacrifice. Number 2, asking for help. And number 3, making a total turning point, a total change. And then you might even become enlightened and illuminated, because when you turn around, that figure looks like as if it were dancing, and it has the glory around his head. So it's an interesting thing. It suggests that, okay, probably what you need to do in this era, in this time, around this time, is to look at your chances and make a complete turn. And this is what the whole energy pattern suggests. There is a dissolved mutable T-square involving the sun, and as you see, the title here is Gonggong and the dissolved mutable T-square, and we are going to come to Gonggong in a second, but let me explain what the T-square denotes. There's a T-square involving the sun opposite trans-Pluto, the dimension jump, and at the apex is Ceres, the nurturer. At the moment, Ceres is in Gemini, so the nurturing is not physical, it is mental or cerebral, or it's really intellectual nurturing. That is what is necessary at the space-time moment. The T-square is dissolved by a quincunx from Pallas Athena, denoting wisdom, but also homeland safety and protecting your land, your nation. And look at the news, what's happening in Europe, and all kinds of war rhetorics are flying really freely. So that's the T-square, the dissolved T-square. And let's take a look at the transcendental celestial objects accompanying them. We're going to start with trans-Pluto, because there are 2 asteroids. By the way, again, the color code is purple for asteroids, blue for centaurs, TNOs, SDOs, trans-Neptunians, Kuiper belt objects. They are all considered to be centaurs in karmic astrology, just for easy going. labeling. Think about the fact that we call the moon and the sun also planets in astrology, and no one is actually hyped about it. It's just we accept it. Of course, we know that they are the luminaries. Sometimes they say that they are the luminaries, but at the same time, when I speak about, for instance, the personal planets, I say Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars. So I include them in among the planets. This is the same thing in karmic astrology. It doesn't matter where that particular trans-Neptunian object is, whether it's a true centaur, which is the inner Kuiper belt, or a TNO, which is the outer Kuiper belt, or the SDO, which is a scattered disk object. These are three different areas in the sky. We don't care. We call them as some centaurs, and they all denote karmic wounds. So these are in blue, and then the fixed stars are in red. So on Trans-Pluto, you have Fortuna, which is the goddess of fortune, and Kirke or Circe, who was a sorceress who could actually turn men into swine. So it denotes some kind of potential for magic, and for it means that as Trans-Pluto both describes dimension jump and channeling, that you can actually achieve something by translating something coming from up there. At the apex, you find Ceres, the nurturing principle, and it is on fixed star Mirfak, which is Alpha Perseus, a very bright star. It is the fixed star that is linked to bravery and knightship and chivalry, and also the energy of being able to fight for a good cause. And then on the sun, you have three celestial objects, two fixed stars, and the funnily named TNO Gonggong. Actually, it's an SDO because it has an orbital period of 54 years. So let's look at the sun on Sadr Melek, which is Alpha Aquarius. Sadr Melek means in Arabic the luck of the king. It's a very lucky star. And Fomahaut, which is one of the Persian stars of royal stars of Persia, and it is linked to mysticism and all kinds of esoteric knowledge, and also artistic talents. All you need to do is avoid being crazy or vague. So you need to stay in the here and now and become an artist or become a mystic by accepting the earth plane as well. And then we have Gonggong, this very funny sounding TNO. This is not the funniest, by the way. We have very interesting ones. I have been planning to do a workshop for my English group, my London group, for quite a while. The last 2 years were spent in pandemic, really, and so I have a huge file for these newly named TNOs, and one of them is Gonggong. And as the sun is crossing over exactly on the day of this very special numerology day of just twos, I thought I might mention it very briefly. So Gonggong is a Chinese mythological figure. It's a water god, and it has a copper human head with an iron forehead, very red hair, or copper red flaming hair, and a serpent lower body, and sometimes it is the entire lower body, sometimes it's the torso as well. So it's just the human head and a serpentine physical body for the rest. And he's destructive and is blamed for various cosmic catastrophes, says Wikipedia very briefly. But if you take a look at the myths themselves, it's a very interesting myth actually, because he did a battle with the fire god Zhurong. Don't mix it up with Zulong, which is also a TNO. So this is different. Okay, so Zulong is the flame holders. It's very different. Although this too is a fire god. And in the bottom, Gonggong's head crashed into the cosmos. Think about this. I love this picture, okay? Imagine crashing into the cosmos itself, and it created a hole in the sky, and this disrupted the course of the sun, which then tilted and cracked the Earth. So actually, this is another Vela cataclysm story, okay? This whole myth. I keep telling you that everywhere among in any human community, you really see all these ancient tales that there used to be a perfect paradise, and then a catastrophe, either a snake or a dragon appeared in the sky and caused a huge cataclysm, and the earth tilted, the axis of the earth tilted, and all sorts of cataclysmic events occurred, and we lost paradise. That's exactly this story of Gonggong. And so there was a huge water surge, and then fire raged everywhere, and people either drowned or burned. And Gonggong was defeated finally, and according to one myth, he was killed, but according to another, he was put into exile, and that is the ultimate quarantine. So very interestingly, Gonggong actually denotes quarantine. So, and if you look around, this is the time when quarantines are being lifted everywhere. So finally, the powers that be got to their senses and realized that they can't put us into quarantine for any longer, because we will be up in arms. Look at what's happening in Canada, our bright and beautiful Canada, and our lovely democratic people. Look at their leaders, and the West is not up in arms. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. Okay, think about it. They can seize your bank account. Okay, think about it for a while. Okay, anyhow, so let's look at the celestial object, which was later named Gonggong. I think they only named Gonggong right around the pandemic, the start of the pandemic, sometimes at the end of 2019. But it was actually discovered on July 17th, 2007, with an orbital period of 554 years. It is a scattered disk object, and it's actually the sixth farthest known object in the solar system. And it does have a moon, Xianglu, and I'm very proud to announce that this was discovered by Hungarian astronomers. And as you know, astronomers have the chance to name an object, but these Hungarian astronomers were willing to name it after Gonggong's helper, because in the midst he has a helper, as I think a 7 or 9 headed dragon, something like that. I don't really remember the story anymore. Anyhow, so this is it. And if you can see, by the way, it first was named Snow White because it appeared as a very white object. And then it turned into a very red object. It turned out it's a very red object. And so it's quite a nice synchronicity that it is named after a mythological figure which is red-headed, red-haired. So quite funny how things work out nicely. And it's quite big. You can see that Pluto and Aries are roughly the same size. Of course, that's why Pluto got demoted, because Aries, if Pluto is a planet, then Aries should be a planet as well. And then they realized all of a sudden that they might have another zillion planets, and instead of having zillion planets, they just demoted Pluto. It was easier to do that. And the astrological delineation is cataclysms, floods, natural disasters, total destruction, and quarantines. I should also tell you that when it was discovered, the discovery degree was 0 degrees Pisces, retrograde. So it just entered into Pisces and then went back into Aquarius after that, after discovery, and then finally I think it actually ingressed Pisces sometime in 2008 only, but it's at 0 degrees Pisces in the discovery period. You know, discovery degrees are always important when we want to delineate. So the flooding and also emotions are there. So floods, natural disasters, total destructions, and quarantines are linked to its astrological delineation. And then look at, there's another planetary picture around the 22nd, 23rd degree of the signs. We have the Venus-Mars Vesta in Capricorn. This is going to be still tight up till the very beginning of March. They will reach Pluto eventually. And actually, these are morning star objects now, Mars and Venus, as I mentioned, I think, a couple of days ago. And they are conjunct TNO Gonggong, which we are going to come back to. Mercury is on Juno in Aquarius. This is, by the way, this is in at 7 or 8 degrees, but I put it in there because it actually makes a little planetary picture in itself with a square, a sesquiquadrate, and a semi-quadrate with Neptune and Black Moon Lilith. And then, of course, Neptune in Pisces, Aries in Aries, the Black Moon Lilith in Gemini. It's conjunct as Bolus. We are going to look at that. We did already, but I'm going to mention it again. And we have the asteroid Europe, opposite Aries, actually retrograding at the moment. And look at the state of Europe. Actually, what's happening at the moment is that the United States is trying to pick a war with Russia over Ukraine. I mean, think about it. Just think about for 1 minute, okay? How rational is it to be worried, to worry for the United States about a border in Ukraine when you guys in America can't actually defend your own border in Mexico? How stupid is that? Or how stupid do they think we are? So I always say that, oh, please don't insult my intelligence, because I know how to think. Here in Europe, we do know. America has nothing to do here. I mean, it has no business to do that here. Anyhow, so this is interesting because actually Europe plays center role in this complex planetary picture. First of all, because it has a T-square with Aries, strife and discord, drastically altered outward circumstances, man-made and natural as well, don't forget. And today, on the 22nd, the sun is also crossing over Gonggong. So there's a double disaster brewing here. And at the apex of the T-square, you have Venus, Mars, Vesta, and Hylonom. And Hylonom in Greek mythology describes unconsolable grief, deep unconsolable grief. That doesn't look too well, to say the least. And then we have a trapeze here involving Neptune, the triple conjunction in Capricorn, Europa, and Black Moon Lilith. And as you see, this is a trapeze. It's an interesting trapeze because it's a big one. It crosses over the whole chart. The base is a trine, blessing and harmony, but the sides are squares, so it's quite difficult to get to the top. The top is a sextile, which is nice. Okay, so it's a nice, comfortable stage, but the inside are two quincunxes. And one's the Neptune Europa quincunx, and the other one is the Black Moon and Venus Mars Vesta triple conjunction quincunx. So these are interesting times. And you may remember that Black Moon Lilith is conjunct Ashbolos. And why is this interesting? Because Black Moon Lilith not only denotes stamina and endurance and wisdom and the potential to do something in a right way, to do it, to rectify a situation by using courage and endurance, but also clairvoyance. Because you remember that Black Moon Lilith is the third turning point of the Lilith story, and it describes the fact that Lilith gets wind of the fact. She realizes that Eve is being manufactured, and she knows she doesn't have a soul, so she goes back to the Garden of Eden and enlightens her. And so for that she needs to be clairvoyant, or she needs to have what we call far sight. And Ashbolos is a centaur, according to the myth, who who is a clairvoyant, he's actually an oracle, but the fact is that nobody listens to him whenever he knows what's happening, but whenever he makes a mistake, then they are ridiculing him. So it's linked, Ashbolish is really linked to conspiracy theories and also being labeled as conspiracy theorists. And it's on Lilith, on Black Moon Lilith. There are a couple of people out there who know what's going on. They are trying to actually let their voices hear. They are either being silenced or crushed or cancelled. I love this word, cancelled, as if you can cancel a human being. I mean, the same people who are worried about chickens and I don't know, other animals, they can cancel a human being and stop them from making a living. Consider this. So we are living in interesting times in plural. You know, that's one of the biggest Chinese curses. May you live in interesting times, and we do. And I'm just hoping that the West will keep their remaining very tiny common sense, and there's not going to be a huge raging war here in Europe. Let's hope that. And if you want to do a little ritual on the 22nd of February 2022, please do it. It is a very feminine day, full of moon energies, full of receptivity and nurturing. Let's do that instead of war. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.